Almost exactly 1 year ago, I climbed Kilimanjaro. It was one of the craziest things I've ever done in my life. I really didn't plan for it, I didn't research, but I just was in Africa and I was like, hey man, if I'm in Tanzania, I gotta climb Kilimanjaro, let's go for it. How hard could it be? As soon as I got off the mountain, after 7 days of climbing to the top of the tallest volcano in the world and the tallest freestanding mountain in the world, I sat down at my computer and just started writing. The first couple sentences from that journal entry go, Kilimanjaro, wow, holy sh**, what a time. I didn't research Kilimanjaro at all. Like, I booked it 1 week ahead through a friend. I didn't research it, I didn't plan, I didn't pack for it for sure. I had like zero expectations, zero research, zero knowledge. I was just like, it's a big mountain, how hard can it be? And it says, I knew it was going to be hard, but also I didn't think it was going to be that hard. Because up until this point, it was really all easy. In my mind, I was already thinking of the caption, to be honest, Kili isn't that hard. I remember this being like, you know, this is not that bad. And then summit day comes around. Like a year later, reflecting back, reading my journal, flipping through the photos, looking at everything I shot on that day, reflecting on the memories, and now planning to go back next week. I still literally cannot believe that I climbed Kilimanjaro. Still is one of the most epic things I've ever done. Like truly, it was a wild, wild experience, and I'm so stoked to be going back with 8 people this time. So this is actually like the journal entry that I got right when I finished off the mountain. We got back to the hotel. As happens in Africa, electricity is down across the entire city. And I just sit down on my computer, start typing. My battery on my computer is dying, and I just typed and typed and typed until I couldn't anymore. And just capturing kind of like the emotion of this. The scenery changes so much. Like, it's an actual national park, not just a volcano, which I really didn't know. I was like, this is just gonna be ugly, and we're gonna be climbing rocks. Not the case. It's absolutely beautiful. So you're climbing up this massive mountain, and it's a full ecosystem. Each campsite was its own destination, no two even remotely alike. It's really true. Like, every day you're in a completely new environment. It's freaking beautiful. You go from forest to jungle to high plains to higher plains above the clouds to this crazy like valley to like way up to way up to way up. I mean, it's just like beautiful, and I had no idea. I don't want people reading this journal. I would not, like my girlfriend was asking, hey, can I read your journal entry? I said, no, because I want you to come. And I think if you read this entry, you might not come. So I'm gonna put this down, but I'm gonna talk about why I think Kilimanjaro is really awesome, this upcoming trip, and then also just some of like bits and pieces of what's coming up. So one of the questions I get a lot when I start talking about Kilimanjaro and how epic it is, and I tell people, hey, I'm actually going back this year and potentially again in 2025, they're like, why are you going back? Is it really that cool? And like, absolutely, it is 100% that cool. Like, I've done a lot of really cool, adventurous, amazing stuff, and Kilimanjaro for sure is at the top of the list. It's a bucket list thing, and if it's on your bucket list, I like highly, highly recommend you do it because it is as epic as you think it's gonna be. When I got back from last trip, I was just started talking to my friends, and I was like, dude, like Kilimanjaro was epic. People saw the footage, they saw the Instagram posts, they saw the stories, and people were like, dude, well, like I wanna go. And so enough people told me that I was like, hey, like maybe we could go again this year. So turns out that's exactly what happened, and now I'm going back and taking 8 people with me, which is super cool. And one thing that I realized about this last trip and this upcoming trip, and one of the big differences is that, like for me, I really want to do awesome, memorable, bucket list experiences with people that I care about that we can like reflect back on for decades, right? So whether that's family, whether that's homies, best friends, like whoever it is, like me personally, I want to collect these memories that are like epic memories that we can hold on to forever. And that's a big part of this trip, and really like the trips that I want to keep going on is like, yeah, I've solo traveled a bunch, but doing epic stuff with the homies is for sure one of the coolest opportunities to like really make memories that you can like truly cherish forever. I was too many places by myself or with people that I didn't know that I was like, man, I wish I was with some people and I wish I wasn't here like basically experiencing this alone. And that's so epic that now I get to go back to Kilimanjaro with the homies. And that's this trip for me. But I really think for anybody, it's important to travel with people and like not just go to the boring stuff and like the quick trips or like whatever. Like go on the epic trips, go far away from home, go do like really big adventures with your people, because I don't know, I talk a lot of trash about Americans, but like we don't do that, right? So like maybe we don't do that. We don't go on epic trips. And so I just like, this is a trip where we're gonna go with some epic homies, and I wanna keep doing that really forever so I can keep making these memories with like people that I care about. Africa's freaking sick. I didn't know anything about Africa. I don't know hardly anybody that's been to Africa. It wasn't really like a big destination for me. Of course, Africa's huge. So I've been to Morocco and Egypt, but like Africa. It wasn't like something I like thought about a lot, but after going to East Africa, I was in Kenya and Tanzania for about 2 months. Africa's freaking sick. And most people won't tell you that because they haven't been, but Africa is super cool. It's its own full thing. Like, and just want to encourage you to, as you're like looking at trips and potential destinations and like going on some sort of adventure, to consider Africa as an option, because you can go to East Africa, you can go to South Africa, you can go to West Africa, you can go to North Africa. Like Africa just has its own culture, its own history, its own energy. And because most people don't go to Africa, they're not gonna tell you that. Africa's freaking sick. And like part of this trip is getting to go back to East Africa and Tanzania. We're going on a 4-day safari and then Kilimanjaro. So for most people, it's about 2 weeks. I'm going for a little bit extra on both sides. But we're gonna be hanging out in Moshi, which is like the city that you kind of home base out of to climb Kilimanjaro. Moshi's super cool. Of course, like the Serengeti and going out to see the safari is super cool. But highly recommend checking out East Africa. I've almost been back now after my 9-month trip last year for almost a year. So actually on like the night before we summit, October 2nd, is 1 year since I returned. October 3rd, we're summiting, which is pretty cool. It's like very much like a milestone for me, is coming back from traveling and now having been home for a year. And then now getting to like go back out again and go back out into the world and like do another huge epic trip to Africa. So it's like a wild one, and it's very much needed. I think big trips like this also really help you like see the world differently, see yourself differently. Like it's been a hard returning to home. Like definitely a lot of things come with being back in the US after traveling for so long. And so I'm now like ready for another big trip. And so this seems like it's coming at like just the right time. Gonna be doing a lot of storytelling around it, a lot of vlogs, a lot of content. I have like 15 rolls of film that I'm taking, 2 different film cameras, an Osmo Pocket 3, the Digicam. Like the content's gonna be outrageous from this, but super stoked to be going back. And hopefully this inspires you to go to Kilimanjaro or do some sort of other epic hike, because it truly is like pushing yourself physically, mentally in a new place is one of the coolest parts about travel. And yeah, cool, you can go like walk around France or, you know, hang out in the Riviera or like be in Italy, but like when you're in somewhere that the people don't look like you, the language is totally foreign, the architecture, the culture, when everything is so different, like that's, in my opinion, like real travel. And so that's what Kilimanjaro is, going to Africa, and that's what we're gonna be doing. So the countdown is on, gonna be hiking up to the top. And if you wanna keep watching these videos, subscribe. This is like week 37 or something in a row of posting videos. They're kind of all over the place, but it's getting narrowed down into a cool area. So I'm excited to like shoot all this stuff and then kind of take the next steps with this YouTube channel. But appreciate you watching. Catch you at the roof of Africa.